All right. You see us, Jean?
Well,
Hmm.
everyone sees us
Right.
right now.
Yay! Well, I want to welcome everybody here this evening. It is top of the hour. It's 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it's 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Again, I want to welcome my co-host, Miss Renee Rand, Miss Lisa Griggs. Thank you so much. I want to welcome everybody who is joining us here today to PowHer Hour. So excited about our guest this afternoon. Super excited. I want to make sure that if you need to call in, we have our 800 number, 877-776-3985. Feel free to jump in and talk to us. And I'm going to turn this over to Renee because she has a big announcement for us from
Oh, I do. I'm
our.
so excited. We've been creeping our group up person by person by person. Ladies, join us. It's so exciting. This is our libido package, all ready to go with all kinds of sensual, wonderful, fun things in here from the Power Hour. And we're ready to give that away, I'm sure, by next week. So we can't wait. We're going to have all your names up on a wheel, and someone is going to spin to win. So be here next week for that. We want you to be on there live so you can hoop and holler and just have a great time. And we can get your info so we can get that off to you right away. So I'm very
Awesome.
excited about it.
So am I. Thank you, Renee, for that. Now, today's topic has to do with genetics and menopause, of course. We always like to talk about menopause and those happy things that happen to all these women. And just to let you know that genetics plays a significant role in determining a woman's age at menopause. With family history being a strong indicator, studies suggest that a significant portion of the variation in age at menopause is around 50%. It's also attributed to genetic factors, and that's what we're really going to talk about today, which I'm really super excited with our guest. This means that women with mothers or sisters who experience menopause at a younger age are more likely to experience it earlier themselves. So, you know what? There's a more detailed look into this and how it's connected with family history, specific genes, shared specific genes, shared genetics, the impact of genetic variations, and other factors. So I'm going to turn this over to my other co-host, Ms. Lisa Griggs, and she's going to introduce our amazing guest today. Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah, thank you so much, Veronica. Renee, I'm so excited. It's really great to be here today with everybody. I'm so excited about this topic. I actually got to meet Jeffrey Gall very recently, and he is a fantastic person. I'm just going to say that right out of the gate. Okay. I love this man's heart. I love what he's doing right now for humanity. He's a quantum practitioner, but he also has 36 years in marketing, wellness industry, direct selling. He has a background, as an engineer. So he's very cerebral in thought. He's a researcher. He's done a tremendous amount of research around the subject of epigenetics and testing and genetics and quantum physics, the way energy works in the body to help heal it from the inside out. And he's just a fantastic soul. It is such an honor to have him here on PowHer Hour today with us, ladies. I know Renee also got the opportunity to meet him in Vegas, and we got to see him do some energy work, and they're just right on the spot. And Jeffrey, we are just so grateful and so honored to have your presence on the show today. I love all the things that you've put together with Age Code, this amazing product that you started to bring to market almost 3 years ago. And the company is now just going through a big launch, kind of a soft launch, actually. And I would love for you to share with everyone today what you're so excited about with regard to Age Code. I know Veronica just recently took the test. We're also going to show how to take the test, which I think is important for everyone to know that's listening in. But Jeff, thank you again for being with us today and our live audience right now.
Well, thank you, and good afternoon, good evening to all the wonderful ladies on the call, although I see I'm joined by one fellow gentleman at least. our technical support, IT, making sure everything works well. So my pleasure to be here. And I have worked a lot in the holistic nutrition. I am familiar with some of the challenges women do experience, with hormones over time. And so the great thing about our test is we don't know what we don't know until we know, right? It sounds strange, but it's a reality. And so we all look at, geez, am I going to be like mom and like grandma and all the problems? Or my sister is in pain every month on her monthly cycle. What's going to happen to me? And really, we all are very unique, although there is a tiny piece, which is genetic predisposition, that we do carry from generation to generation to generation. The unique part that most people don't realize is it's the epigenetics, which are lifestyle choices, that choose how those genes express themselves. So, without getting super technical, let's just keep it as basic as possible. Think of a light switch and what turns that switch on or turns that switch off. Epigenetics is actually controlling the on off switch.
Mm.
So the choices you make in life, and a lot of that has to do with diet, meaning what we're eating, not the sense of a diet, but our food choices. It has a lot to do with lifestyle choices. Uh, you know, Everything from how toxic we are from air, food, and water. And I don't care where you live, we are heavily, heavily exposed to toxins on a regular basis. And what happens is we're in overload. Our bodies were designed to take care of all of that. And, I remember when I was first in the holistic nutrition, I was there for about 12 years. And I met this amazing doctor. Her name's Dr. Lindsay Bergstrom. And I don't know if any of you ladies have heard of her. She is a hormone specialist. And I remember I was this young man. Obviously, what did I know about hormones? But I was in this field of wellness, and I had women coming to me as well as men. And you want to be more and more educated. And as an engineer, I always had this desire. I just wanted more and more information, just so I could understand. Not that I needed to explain it. And I remember a simple explanation to me was the body heats up because it's burning off toxins. So every time you get warm, everything's just burning up those toxins, which I go back to, well, what if you can control your toxic load? Would that not help? And again, not understanding the entire hormonal system, because there truly is a lot of factors. This is not a simple one or two switches turning on and off. It's multiple.
Mm.
It's tied within multiple systems in the body, but there are some things you can do. But first, you need to know what you should do. And that's where the test comes into play. So imagine taking everything available to science today, because that's all we can really do, looking at intracellular wise what's going on. So we understand genetic predisposition, and that just is the way it is. You either have good genes or you have challenging genes. Sorry to say, ladies and gentlemen, that's life. Okay. I believe we choose our parents when we come in this life and the lessons we're going to learn. So you chose it. So just own it. Right? I mean, we're just going to do what we got to do to own it. But our choices in life with food and lifestyle can affect those genes. But more importantly, there's the whole methylation or epigenetic portion or micronutrient. Let's go down to what's going on in the cells. If you understand how the cells are digesting things, like for example, your entire hormone system, male and female, cannot operate properly without enough DHA. DHA, that foundational fat that either comes from algae or from fish, the fish eat the algae, that regulates all hormone production. So people who are not getting enough DHA, for example, are going to have hormonal issues. It's just the way it is because you're not feeding it. You have to feed it something that you cannot make on your own. You have to make sure you have those, in a sense, precursors in order to make it. Well, healthy fats is one of them. And that's not the potato chips and French fries, and those are omega-6s. Those aren't so good for us. We get way more than enough omega-6s in our life, way too much. But the omega-3 is critical. The great thing about our tests, not only does it talk about the fact of whether you're getting it, because there's two things. There's this old school of thought, people used to say you are what you eat. And that's not necessarily true. See, if your body can't absorb it, who cares? It just goes in one end and comes out the other end, or creates problems along the way. So it's all about absorption. Well, today in standard diagnostics, if you went to your doctor, ladies, you go to your gynecologist and you say, I feel like things are changing in my body. And so what do they run? Extensive hormone panels. Let's go take a look. So what they're looking at, and they look at micronutrients. They're looking at what's in your blood right now. Okay? What's actually being measured in that blood. And so that can easily be manipulated, because what's in your blood is based on what you've taken in consumption wise over the last 24 to 48 hours. That's why it always shocks me. People say, I'm going for my physical this week. I better clean up my diet. I'm not going to drink, no more fast food. Maybe I'll do some intermittent fasting. And I don't know who you're trying to impress, because your doctor doesn't benefit either way, depending on what your blood work is. This is for you. So you really want a true snapshot. With our H code tests, we're not looking at blood serum. We're looking at what's called methylation. What's going on in the cells? You can't change that over 24 to 48 hours. That takes months of consistent practice. So whether you have a terrible diet or you have a great diet, it's done over months of time. So the great thing is that you can look at, it may show up in your blood, for example, even if you didn't manipulate it. Maybe someone comes, you do a blood test and it says, wow, you have great omega-3s in your blood. That's great. You're going to have great, it's going to help support hormone production. The challenge is if you're not methylating it. So if you can't absorb it, who cares? So we need to understand. So what that would tell an individual, if you're struggling to methylate it, what they recommend is as the normal amount to be found in your blood, you have to double it, or in some cases triple it, because you're not absorbing enough. And then you also have to look at things. Maybe you need a better version. Maybe you need a version that's liposomal or micellized, which just means you're taking these fat-soluble nutrients and making them water-friendly. Because you know yourself, if you were to take a glass of water and pour some olive oil or any oil on top, what happens? It separates. You stir it, it separates, it separates. What do you think is going on in your body? When you micellize it or use liposomal, when you stir it, it blends in, which means it's absorbable. So the reason I'm mentioning these things, not only on our test, but one of our key core 6 precision nutraceuticals we created is all based on DHA, omega-3 DHA, and EPA, which comes from algae. So for those of you that are vegan or vegetarian, you don't have to worry. It's not coming from fish, and it's in its purest form. And then it's micellized, which means it's above liposomal. So you're going to absorb over 97%. And that test, you can put it in water, stir it, and it completely blends. So that tells you there's something unique about the product. And we combine it with something called delta tocotrienols, which are the highest form of vitamin E. And what people don't understand is around every cell in our body is fat. That fat is DHA. Okay, critical. What is it that protects the DHA? Delta tocotrienols, highest form of protection. So our product called Cell Shield, which we'll be rolling out shortly, is exactly what that product is. omega-3, DHA, and EPA from algae, delta-tocotrienols, a plant from the Amazon, MCT from coconut, all combined and micellized in a dessert form. So you can put it on fruit, you can put it on cake, you can put it on ice cream, you could take it straight, you can mix it in your coffee, your tea. It makes it very, very simple to take. The reason that's one of our core products, whether you're a man or a woman, you need to regulate hormone production. You also need to protect the brain and heart and kidneys and liver. Those are all DHA components, including all the cell membrane. So I diversed a little bit from the test, but it's critical to understand when we looked at the whole chessboard, let's say. Most people tend to look at the move they're making or that piece on the board. We looked at the whole board and said, okay, what's our end result? And as an engineer, I always look, what do I want to accomplish? And let's reverse engineer it. So how do we get there in a very logical manner? And that's what we did. We said, hey, if we're going to bank your healthy immune factors to be used in the future for gene and cell therapy treatments, whether it's for immunotherapy or longevity, you need healthy immune factors. How are we going to get healthy immune factors? How do we know whether your immune system is healthy? Well, we better find some kind of test. Well, there isn't any real great test until we start going down that rabbit hole of genetics, epigenetics, methylation, and began looking at all these insights that we need first, tying it, combining it with AI, with trillions of data sets, to be able to come up with this information that can help put you on a path. So this does two things. Why should I do this? Is because for me, I'm tired of watching people give their power away. When I was seeing patients and they'd come in and see me, they all want to give me their power. I don't want their power. They all want someone to make a decision for them. They all want someone to be responsible for them. I don't want that. You need to step in your power and embrace your power. That's why I love working with powerful women, is because they stand in their power, they embrace it, they take ownership of all the choices they've made, good or bad. And by the way, men are no different. Okay, we all make choices based on what we think is best, but you need to take ownership. So you are where you are because you created it. If you don't like it, change it. And that's where Lisa and I had a little bit of talk of quantum physics and energy, because the reality is people say, well, how long does it take to make the change? It's instant. The moment you make the change consciously, the universe is making everything happen. So when I'd see patients that would come in with these symptoms that fall under dis-ease states today, I'd say, first and foremost, you need to take ownership. You created it. That's a very hard thing to hear when you're in the third or fourth stage of disease and you don't know what to do. And now I'm telling you, you created it. But you didn't create it because you're this bad person. You created it because you didn't know better. You made all these lifestyle choices because someone else taught you those lifestyle choices. Because see, if you don't take ownership, how are you going to change it? You're going to be waiting for everyone else to change it, right? But if you take ownership, you can say, okay, maybe I don't understand how I got here, but I'll take ownership of it. It was probably based on my choices in life. And by the way, those choices are also thoughts, conscious and subconscious. Okay. And those are the difficult ones to deal with because no one wants to deal with that kind of stuff, but it's critical. But once you do that, it's like changing a radio station. You don't like country western, put on rock and roll. The moment you change that station, you've changed the energy, the thought, the process, and what you're projecting out into the universe. And the universe is coming back with all of these situations to give you that type of energy back. So we have total control. And that's one of the great things about the test. I could be talking to my best friend or my significant other or whoever it might be, a family member, and you're trying to give suggestions, right? We have a lot of knowledge, not that we all practice it all the time, but we want to share it. So that's who we are. It's human nature. Well, as you're sharing this information, people say, ah, you're crazy. Ah, it's just your opinion. What do you know? But imagine now you take a test, and this happened with my business partner and his significant other, and that, we're all trying to live cleaner lifestyles. We're getting older, right? Chronologically. And we know we need to take a little responsibility. Everybody wants, I mean, I believe that death is inevitable, although how we age is optional.
Mhm.
So if we make that choice, we can make better choices. Well, we were talking about all these lifestyle choices and how we could be better people and, better adults and making good decisions. And we all did the first version of Age Code, which, by the way, was so much different than all of you are experiencing today, in the sense we got pages of these genetic codes and nobody even knew how to read it. We were all trying to figure out what to do, but it did have some of the algorithms of pace of aging. And this one individual saw that she was aging faster than 1 year at a time. And you would have thought lightning struck her. She made these massive radical changes. Exercise. What am I going to eat? What am I going to drink? From seeing that result was such a powerful motivation. Okay. And that's what the test does for people, because opinions are opinions, right? We all have one, and or many. And I tell people all the time that truth is not truth. Perception becomes your truth. And your perception is based on the glasses you wear, and those glasses are accumulative of your life experiences. So we all see things differently. It's how we grew up. It's where you grew up, who your parents were, who the most influential people were in your life, what propaganda you listened to, because that's what it all comes down to. And so it allows you now to reset, start over. And here's the greatest thing of all, and I've been teaching this for years. We are blessed with this amazing gift called innate intelligence. Okay, whether you believe in God, Christ, Jesus, Allah, whatever that might be for you, spirituality, universe, creator, we were blessed with this amazing gift. Our bodies know how to heal and repair itself. All we have to do is create the right environment. And that right environment may be you're overly toxic. See, the older we get, the more toxic, obviously, because it accumulates those toxins. And now we're being bombarded with chemtrails, with the water we drink, the food we eat, everything's full of toxins. Any fish used to be amazing, right? Now they have all this farm raised fish that are actually so toxic and so dangerous
Mhm.
for people. And we're in overload. So, by the way, the very first nutraceutical we're rolling out, probably in the next 30 days, is Cell Detox. It's a breaks down spike proteins, cleans parasites, heavy metal cleanse, colon, liver, gallbladder, all in one product. So instead of taking 5 different formulas, it's one product. You can take more or less depending on where you are in your cleansing process, so to speak. In our report, a lot of information we provide is from a functional medicine standpoint.
Mhm.
We talk about fasting, intermittent fasting, breathing, yoga. It enrolls everything. It gives insights from a vegetarian standpoint and from a meat eater standpoint. It's probably the most inclusive part. I was with a doctor today. I did a Zoom. This was actually someone that Adam and I met in Las Vegas at the stem cell show. We saw Lisa at the peptide show, and we were bouncing back and forth between the stem cell and peptide show. And I know some doctors, and we met with them there. And one of the doctors we met with is very big in genetics and epigenetics and methylation and huge practice. People around the world. She charges big bucks. she's just overwhelmed with everything. And I showed her today, we went through a Zoom and went in depth, and she said, your information is so, she goes, I've never seen anyone provide so much. She goes, you've given tremendous insights. And she said, you're going to make my job easier, because I normally have to run multiple tests, do all the analysis, then feed stuff in chat GPT and do all these things. And she goes, you've already done what you're providing is more than all of that. And she said, I have a couple suggestions on the genetics. And I said, great, love your insights, because we only want to make the test better. Because obviously, as we evolve it, it just benefits everybody as we make it better. But as we're attracting these people, but when I hear from these doctors and say you have something nobody else has, it actually gives a validation of we've really got something unique. And then when she saw the blood draw, she's like, oh my God, you guys, this is so genius. How did you guys ever figure it out? And it's like, well, we'd all love to think we figured it out, but it was a device I found a few years ago. And I thought, wow, I wonder if this will work. And, it works. So it makes it really amazing for people who are terrified of needles or going to a nurse or a phlebotomist. And so, and it's easier than a finger prick, less invasive than a finger prick. So it's kind of really nice to have. So,
And with that being said, Jeff, let's have Gene, if he can roll that video, okay?
love it.
I think that's going to be great to show Veronica's video about how this test actually works in the home.
It was
Because
painless.
it takes all the guessing
Thanks.
out. Why guess when you can test?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's great. Really, really awesome, Jeff. Thank you so much for sharing all that. We have a bunch of people putting questions in too. So good stuff.
Okay.
Hey everybody, it's Wednesday, June 11th. This is my helper here, Cliff.
Hi.
He's going to help me do my age code genetic testing. I need a little help because I had shoulder surgery and I want to complete this right away. So with that being said, we're going to take our Tasso little warmer. We're going to bend the little metal tab in here. And okay, it's going to start to warm up. So we're going to mix it around, and Cliff is going to help me by putting this warmer on the upper part of my arm for 2 minutes, correct? I'm just going to move it around. Yes. Thanks, Cliff.
You're welcome.
You always want to make sure beforehand that if you're doing it yourself, wash your hands. Very good. Cliff already did that. Okay. Keep it there for a minute. And now we're going to open our Tasso device. Okay. I'm actually a little scared. No, just kidding. So this little warm pack will promote blood flow in the upper part of my arm. This is the Tasso device that Cliff is going to remove the backing, and he's going to stick it on my arm. In the process, we need to add the test tube to the Tasso device. Here we go. So we're going to place the Tasso device and put it on the collection specimen. Okay, he removed the backing. Hold on. Okay, remove the backing. He has it on my arm, and he's going to, hold on. He's going to push the button 1 time.
And you'll hear a click.
I was really expecting something painful. And this should promote blood flow within, you can let it go, within 5 minutes. So Alexa, set timer for 5 minutes. It did not hurt at all. And once this blood is collected, we'll remove the tube and remove the Tasso device, and we'll cap it up, and we are going to invert this 10 times. And if you can see, there's the blood that's filling the tube. Are we at the fill line? Okay, now once we're going to remove it, just pull it away. Don't take the tube off yet. Okay. Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Okay. There you go. Make sure that's on nice and tight. On nice and tight. 10 times. 2, 3, 4. Wipe that off. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Ah, okay. We already filled out our card with our name and our specimen tube barcode number. Now we're going to put it in the little plastic pack. Again, put your name and barcode and the time of collection. And ziplock that. We're going to place it in our shipping box along with our card. And that's it. We are good to go. That is it. We are all set to go to ship this off and find out our results within 2 to 3 weeks. I hope everybody enjoyed that. Have a great day.
Love it.
Very good.
I was so dominating, Tim. Like, do this, Tim. Do this.
Listen, I'm impressed with Cliff. He did good. I mean, I like it. We needed to see a full shot of Cliff, but we did see the arm
Cut him
and
out.
part of the face. So a couple things, ladies, on this test kit, which is important, is that one, you want to make sure the person's hydrated. And by the way, it says 30 minutes to an hour before. Sometimes it's 90 minutes. So if people know they have a tendency of being dehydrated and when they go give blood, they really struggle, that just means they should maybe an hour and a half before start drinking some water because the idea is keep your system hydrated. The second thing is the heating pack is, I know we say up to 2 minutes or so. Some may have to do 3 to 4 minutes. Again, it stimulates blood flow. Now I know we had some of you, I think Lisa, you were there when we were dealing with Ben. We had one individual in his I think Ben is like 77, something like that. And Ben didn't have a lot of blood flow. So just a few good smacks actually stimulated blood flow. So we didn't have a heating pad and we had no way to stimulate. So a few slaps on the arm, it does bring that blood flow. So there's a couple little things. Now, the other thing that I want to make sure people are doing, we've had some of those boxes come back with blood inside the box. So they must be taking the tassel off, laying it in the box. You shouldn't do that. Have a paper towel or something. Leave the box, take everything out of the box, put it to the side. Take all your devices out, lay them out, put it together, do it. And the only time you touch the box again is when you have the tube in the sealed envelope and you put the card in. So we just want to keep it clean because the lab, the lab doesn't know, does something spill or so it's good to do that. And one last thing, just so everyone knows how our blood collection kit works. When you push the button, this little lancet comes out really fast and goes right back in. It's like a little hook on the end, which causes, and by the way, you can't feel anything, as obviously as Veronica said, I don't even feel it. And then it creates a suction process. So it's literally like you just cut yourself and it's sucking the blood to put in the tube. That's all. It's a really unique medical device, which by the way is certified around the world. So we could use this all around the world. And then it pulls that. So pushing the button more than once is not going to do anything. Right. Okay. Taking it off and putting it on another arm, you've just wasted it. Yeah. Once you remove it, you cannot touch it again. It's done. So just a couple key things. So again, and by the way, I also tell individuals, first thing in the morning, not the best time. You need to get moving. You need to get the blood flowing, right? Women, sometimes when they're on their menstrual cycle, they're already shedding a lot of blood. You need to make sure that, again, it's some common sense things, that as an individual you would know. And other than that, pretty straightforward. I do tell women, my girlfriend loves hot yoga. And I said, you don't go to hot yoga and then think you're going to get blood. I mean, you really need, so there's just some common, or just after a guy goes and works out in the gym and then says, I'm going to do the blood. Again, try and do it late morning, afternoon, good time to do it. And that way get in the box, you can ship it off before the end of the day. So that's just my little input on the blood draw. But Lisa, I know you said there were some questions, and I really want to give as much value to your listeners today that I can.
Yeah. Veronica, do you want to go with that first one? I know Gloria asked a question here. What studies have been done on the products is one of the questions. And what do you get for the $14.99 as far as what tests do you get? Because I think that's a really, really unique
Sure,
lineup
sure.
of what you're offering with, the age code.
Sure, sure. So why don't we do that first? Why don't we answer that question first? So everyone understands the value. So we as a company did not create a brand new unique test. So we partnered with one of the top genetics, epigenetic organizations. They've been 30 years in the business. They find serial killers for law enforcement through DNA, and they helped all of these different genetic companies, 23andMe, help develop all that technology. Okay, so that's who our partners are. What we said to them was, what's available today besides genetic sequencing, meaning predisposition? And as we started looking at all the pieces and said, well, we want to give this insight and this insight, they literally took over 10 different tests and put them into one blood draw, one test. Now we do take that sample and it's divided through two different machines. One's a sequencer, a genetic sequencer, and then there's another one that does all the methylation. Now we get all this information, we feed it into algorithms developed by Harvard, Yale, and Duke, along with the trillions of data points from our AI to come up with biological age, pace of aging of organ systems, predisposition to disease states. All of those things are coming from there. Methylation comes down to measuring the methylone. And so we've combined a bunch of tests. So what's unique? Number one, we use blood, wet blood. Most are using cheek swabs, which means they only check genetic predisposition. Secondly, others that do blood use a blood card. There's more information on the genetics end and methylation end with wet blood, which is why we use wet blood. So we're combining all these tests, one simple draw, and then the report is probably the biggest thing. We had to custom design a report to take all of this data and put it in a format that's easily understood and readable, as well as make suggestions. And we did it all from a functional medicine standpoint. So if you were to go out and try and duplicate all these tests, you're probably talking $4,000 to $5,000, even if you knew where to go to get them. Then you got to worry about how you read the reports, because these genetic companies, like I said, our first set of reports was just a bunch of numbers, and we were all looking at each other in a conference room saying, we're paying how much money for this? I mean, now you need some geneticist to actually translate it for us. So that price all combined, we rolled it out at $17.99 and said, let's give an introductory offer at $14.99. So right now, age code is $14.99. It includes your blood work, postage paid or shipping paid, because it's UPS, to you and back to the lab. It includes your report, your dashboard, all the different pieces. So a lot of times, some of these tests out there, you look and it'll say special $4.99 and add one gene for extra money. But then as you drill down, you got to go to LabCorp or Quest and pay another $200 out of your own pocket in order to do this. So there's all inclusive, full everything you get with no hidden cost. So that's the price of age code.
Got it.
Okay. Thank you for that answer. I think that one of the biggest things is the testing is so valuable from a
Yes.
standpoint of people actually getting out ahead
Mm-hmm.
of what possibly could be coming.
Exactly.
Especially with regard to, cancer. And I know that we've talked about it because I've asked you about that before, with regard to people over the age of 50, 42% of people over the age of 50 in the US are going to have some sort of cancer. And that many times that cancer is living in the body for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years before
Definitely.
all of a sudden you go in, oh, I gotta, I know people that went in and they had a hip issue or they had an arm issue. And the next thing you know, they're being told they have stage 4 colon cancer, or pancreatic cancer. I know that was one of the big reasons why Veronica wanted to test. Maybe Veronica, you could share your testimony about why it was so important, for you to test.
Yeah, I went and I was offered genetic testing. I was like, what is it going to cost me? It actually didn't cost me anything. It didn't cost me anything. I'm sure it cost my insurance something. However, I knew that, I have these stellar genes, these stellar family genes that, heart attack, diabetes, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, stroke. So it all runs in my family. And maybe that's a big Italian family, whatever. But pancreatic cancer, colon cancer, I had siblings. I'm the baby of 9 who passed away. My brother passed with pancreatic cancer in less than 6 months at 37. My sister Mary, she was diagnosed with colon cancer at 45 and passed at 49. She was at stage 4 immediately. I just found out my brother has bladder cancer. So what I've always tried to do is always been on a healthier level since the blood test. I have also got my mindset together. I use HGH gel. I doing everything proactive, healthy lifestyle, cutting out alcohol, eating much healthier, eliminating anything white. I mean, my A1C was amazing. It went from 6.7 to 5. And, these specific things, I don't want to have a heart attack. I don't want to have a stroke. My father died at 53 of a massive cardiac arrest, massive heart attack. They said caused by an aneurysm. So I'm trying to do everything and be proactive. So this was really important to me. You know what? I thought about it. I'm like, well, $14.99. I can't afford this. But you know what? I just bit the bullet and I looked at a bill for another blood test. It was $17.99. That's not $17.99. It was $1,799. I'm like, you know what? I'm doing it, and I want the results and what I can do in moving forward with doing this test. And I had a question too. When you talk about methylation, is that the body? And you talked about absorbing. Is that the body being able to absorb products? Because I was a little confused there.
Yeah, nutrients. What did it? Well, there's two things I discuss. I discuss absorbing products like our cell shield, which is all fats,
Right.
and we're water based, so there's an absorption issue. It's micellized for high absorption.
Mhm.
Okay. The other one is how your body methylates nutrients, meaning intracellular wise, how it's actually using those nutrients. So that's what methylation does, because those are two very different things. One, if you can't absorb the product, you can't methylate either, because the product's not even really getting into you; it's just flushing through you. Okay, so that's that absorption. But you covered a very critical point. In today's diagnostics, there's 4 stages of disease: first, second, third, and fourth. Most diagnostics today in the medical world discovers things at third and fourth stage of disease. It's already kind of late at this point in the game. Why isn't it something can discover in the second or first stage of disease? Or what about preventative long before I hit the first stage? That's what we're talking about with age code. All of you have seen, or some of you have seen, the sample data we show, which is of a real individual, 33 years old, and all of his numbers look pretty good on his pace of aging and everything, except his kidneys. His kidneys are aging much faster. So, does that mean he has a kidney disease? Does that mean he's got cancer? We don't know yet. What it means is those kidneys are aging much faster. Something's going on. So it's like a preventative to say, okay, hold on, maybe I need to do some diagnostics on my kidneys through traditional. Let me go to the doctor. Let me say, hey, something's going on in this part of my body, in the renal system. What tests can we do? And it forces them to drill down versus you go in for hip surgery, they take some blood, they see some enzymes in there and say, or proteins in there and say, whoa, we think you have colon cancer. Hang on, we better do another blood test. Well, it's kind of late in the game. This is very preventative. And as we all know, catching a problem early on is much easier to change.
Mhm.
And then you talked, Veronica, about the price. People always look at, is it worth it? Can you imagine someone who said, $1,500, that's just too much, but then, God forbid, they were diagnosed with some disease a year or two down the road? What's the cost of that?
Yeah. Had I known
Not just
previously.
physical, not just financial, but physical, emotional, psychological. What's the cost on your family?
Mhm.
There's all these factors to come into play, and that's why we're excited about what we have.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, I think it's important to know. I always like getting way out ahead of things as much as possible. Tomorrow night, Jean wanted to remind us, if you'd like to see a test, Jeffrey Gall does a Zoom presentation tomorrow night where he shows you a test anonymously of someone that has taken the test. And they go through it so that you can see all the different biomarkers, all the things the organs are doing. I love the piece that you do with the micronutrients, Jeff. I think that's also a big part
Mhm.
of the tests that you offer. And I love how it's all one, it's all encompassing. You do it right in the privacy of your own home. The tests are kept here in the US. A lot of people
Yep.
ask that question about where is this information going and where are these labs at. Everything's right here in the USA. So
Correct.
nothing is leaving the United States. It's all right here. They control the information, the labs that they have, that
Yeah.
they've.
We also have different services. For example, our lab destroys your specimen and deletes all data within 30 days. So
Ah.
the lab has nothing. We have one company that's a HIPAA compliant encrypted source or service that actually stores all of the test data, but your name is not associated with it. All it knows, each file knows a barcode, is this male or female, and birth date. On a whole nother system, whole nother server, whole nother location, which is also encrypted, is where your name is associated with the barcode. So someone says, well, what if the data gets hacked? They would have to hack two systems simultaneously and try and converge the data to know what anything means. So big difference. We understand privacy and we understand also the concerns of getting genetic data
Mm.
all over the world into the wrong hands. So we have invested a lot in compliance and all the legal pieces. That was part of what we did over the last 30 months. So a lot of thoughts gone into this. And remember, they have our data too. My cells are already banked. Okay, I've done 2 tests now. So we wanted it to create what we would want as individuals and then just make it available to everyone, and which is exactly what we did. There was another question about our products and what type of studies. First off, these are nutraceuticals, so they're not FDA approved or studied. Okay. There are label laws, and there's the FTC, which is DSHEA. So we follow all of those laws. All of the ingredients are on the GRAS approval list, generally regarded as safe for human consumption, which is another legal factor. And then the ingredients themselves have a tremendous amount of research behind them. And we put things in efficacious amounts that actually relate to the studies. So there is no individual double-blind placebo crossover study on a product, but there's no nutritional product in the industry that has done that. We do have part of our scientific advisory board. He's actually a professor at UC Irvine. He sits on boards of many hospitals, and he's in the stem cell exosome and diabetes world. He's excited to start doing some studies and to be able to publish data on what we're doing. So he has a whole team that does all that. So that's opened up to us that most companies don't have access to those types of things. So down the road, you'll see more and more because we've really got something unique and special, and we want the world to know about it. Obviously, that's why we created it.
It's funny that you mentioned about the data because that question came up. Why would you give your DNA to a company, and why would you do this? And they're holding that, and I'm like, well, wait a minute. Like, I didn't know that this was actually destroyed. The
Yeah.
specimen is destroyed, and it deletes all the data. But yet, we could still obtain our data through
Yes.
our barcode and whatnot. I know Gloria asked a question too. Taking the nutraceuticals, is that a prerequisite to the blood test, or can
No.
they be taken without?
No, no. The to do H code, there's zero prerequisite. You just go in, you register, you buy it, it comes to your home or office, do the test, send it in, and then you get an email saying, congrats, your data's here. Go to your dashboard. The precision nutraceuticals you may want to take once you see the results
Mm.
of what actions you can take to start slowing down the pace of aging, reducing the probability for a disease state, or being able to handle all of the things your body isn't methylating right now.
So now you also mentioned 23andMe. How are we different?
Totally different. Those are all DNA,
Right.
family ties. So by
Questions that
the
come
way,
up.
they're storing all that data so
Right.
you can tie and tell that genealogy. We're not telling you what parts you're made up from, where
Right.
your family started, who your relatives are. We're not looking at any of that data. And
Got-
as I said, we're not storing any of that data.
Gotcha. Awesome information. Wow. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
Jeff. I really appreciate it. I can't
Yeah.
wait to get my results.
Yes.
Yeah, right. I think that's going to be great because then we'll maybe have you back on, Jeff, again. We'll talk about
Yes.
Veronica's results. I think that would be an awesome show to do, like the big reveal, right? Of Veronica's
Oh,
results. She's
absolutely.
open to it. And, of course, she'll let us know. And I love that Jean said, this takes the practice out of medicine for doctors.
Yes.
And I love that too. I love that PowHer Hour 2.0 has kind of evolved into beautiful humans like yourself that are making a difference for the human race and making a difference, for humanity. And we certainly want to surround ourselves with more people like that and be around people that are making a bigger impact in the world in bigger ways and very significant and intentional ways. And so we loved having you on here today. Do you have any final thoughts about, I don't know, if you had all the resources in the world, what would you be doing?
Listen, I believe we're bringing an amazing gift to the market to match with the gift we've already been given at birth, which is that innate intelligence to heal and repair. Because we don't know what we don't know, we're giving you that information. So what I urge you all, and I know I'm talking to a group of powerful and amazing women, but it's time to take your power back when it comes to your wellness.
Yeah.
Take back that power, embrace it, make your own. Listen, no one knows your body better than you know your body. I don't care who your doctor is. I mean, it kills me when people say they know better than you. Nobody knows better than you. Okay. You live in that shell 24 hours a day, right? 7 days a week. And so the challenge is that people have become comfortable being uncomfortable. Okay, we're in this box and
Yeah.
we're so uncomfortable, but we're afraid of change.
Yeah.
And the most liberating thing is when you remove the top and walls. And yeah, it's a little scary. You're going to go to no box. And what am I going to feel? What am I going to see? I look at it as what are you going to obtain? What power will you take from that in order to? My whole goal, years and years ago, I was downloaded with a mission, and the mission was really to help people achieve and live their highest potential. And that's in everything, mind, body, and spirit. And that's the way I used to treat patients that came into my clinic. It's not just about the body, there's so much more involved. And we've got so much power. if we're just willing to take responsibility and take control of the wheel, so to speak. And that's really what we're talking about here. And listen, it's a fact of life. Women go through their changes in life, which seem to me to be a lot more dramatic than a man goes through, although men do go through changes as well. And it's just nice to know that now you can create some kind of a blueprint that gives you more detail than you've ever, or more insight than you've ever had available to you to start making better personalized decisions versus, oh, my girlfriend says she does this, or my buddy does this, or I'm going to try what they're trying, and then it doesn't work. People say, oh, I don't know, this stuff never works for me. Well, maybe you're having an issue methylating, or maybe you have some gene issues. Once you know those, you're going to make different decisions. That's what we're talking about here.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
I'll
Really.
tell you what, and it kills me when they say, no, you know what? My husband, I'll use my husband, perfect example. He has lung cancer, going through chemo. And I'm like, you know what? Why don't you try this instead of this? He was like, no, I got to do what the doctor says. I got to like, I'm the type of person I like holistic. I like homeopathic. I've always been the type that always looked at, went outside the box and just tried everything and anything. And with that being said, I can't wait to get my results and have you back again.
Well, I'm excited about you getting your results. I'm excited about everyone on the call today, whether they're watching or they're just listening, to actually empower yourself with some pretty magical information that, it's just interesting. Sometimes it's tiny little changes that can make such a profound difference in your life. And
Oh,
I
absolutely.
would love to see that for all of you today, to really impact your life in the most positive way. So I'm here to serve, and anything I can do to help this beautiful organization, I would love to do that.
Oh, yes. And thank you so much again. We are going to be here again next week, same place, same time at PowHer Hour 2.0 with another amazing guest, Mr. Robert Ferguson. Robert brings decades of experience with as a clinical nutritionist, researcher, best-selling author, founder of Diet Free Life brand. He's going to do a menopause reboot. So I look forward to everyone being here again. And don't forget to scan our QR code and join our Facebook book page so that Renee, I believe you want to mention that one more time?
We have a libido romance package for one of our new people on our Facebook group. So please go in there and we'll put you in for and pick one winner next week. And we're so excited. Can't wait to give it away. So excited. Thank you, Jeffrey. It was wonderful meeting you last week.
Thank you.
And
Yes.
so very much love to listen to you. I've been on many of your calls to learn a lot more, and it's very helpful and just wonderful, wonderful energy. Thank you.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
Love it. Love it. Can't wait to see everybody. If anybody wants to join us tomorrow night again, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the agecode.info. It'll take you right directly into Jeff's Zoom. And then you can see the tests, get more information. All of their marketing assets are amazing. Their videos, and even this whole immune banking system, which we really didn't even get into today, but you're going to talk about tomorrow night. So love to invite you all out.
Hey, it's only 30 minutes, ladies, and it could change your life.
Yes. Yes.
Thanks, everybody.
Yes.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thanks, Jeff. Bye,
Thanks a
everybody.
lot.
Bye-bye.